Hello everyone, it's Richard Lewis here again with another video. This video is sponsored, of course, by Rivalry.gg, an ethical and safe way to bet on esports matches. You can use the referral code RLS to qualify for special rewards and discounts as part of their VIP program. And if you do, you're obviously supporting the show and showing them that they were right to sponsor us. And I also want to just add at the start of the video, we'll probably cover some territory here that where I give my opinion, and my opinion obviously does not represent the opinions of Rivalry GG, even though they sponsor me. Anyway, it's been a while. I know that this information is a little bit behind the curve. We're going to hit you with a series of videos that are quick updates in regards to the PhantomLord versus Twitch legal case. I'm going to try and get through them as quickly as I can. Lots of legal documentation's been filed since we last did a video on this. I know you guys are interested. I think everybody who has even a cursory interest in streaming and sort of Twitch culture and gaming culture should be paying very close attention to this case, because it's got some potentially big ramifications to come out of it. But anyway, what I'm going to be talking about today is PhantomLord's lawyers basically went and filed what they call a demurrer, which is for all of the 4 counterclaims that Twitch had leveled against him. Because if you remember, if you followed the case, they put in their own complaints based on his activities on their platform. And in very simple terms, and again, I'm not a lawyer, but a demurrer is basically an argument that their legal argument is invalid because it lacks the particular substance required to make that argument. I think that's a fair summary. Anyway, the legal documentation has sort of all these cases that are going to be cited within. I'm just going to read it to you. It says here that the plaintiff cross-defendant, James Varga, respectfully states as follows as his memorandum of points and authorities in support of his demurrer to Twitch Interactive Incorporated, aka Twitch.tv Incorporated, Twitch's cross-complaint. By its cross-complaint, Twitch purports to bring 4 causes of action against Varga, namely for breach of contract, breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, negligent misrepresentation, and fraud. Even taking the allegations in the light most favorable to Twitch, it is clear that Twitch does not and cannot state facts sufficient to constitute a cause of action for breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, negligent misrepresentation, or fraud against Varga. Accordingly, Varga respectfully seeks to demur to these causes of action. Twitch's claims are rooted in an alleged giveaway promotional event broadcast on Varga's online Twitch channel on June 25th, 2016, during which time Varga gave away $100,000 worth of online skins found within a popular video game, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, from here on referred to as CSGO. Twitch alleges that Varga made misrepresentations to Twitch and to Twitch users by omitting information which would purportedly demonstrate that Varga was in some way affiliated with a third-party website through which subscribers could cash out their winnings from the skins giveaway. Significantly, Twitch fails to allege that Varga actually made any actionable affirmative misrepresentation. At best, Twitch alleges that Varga omitted information related to his purported affiliation with the third-party website, but under these circumstances, California law does not recognize any cognizable claim for negligent misrepresentation or fraud based on an alleged omission alone. So you can see there, pretty much just to summarize all of that legalese, that basically they're saying that what Twitch has made an allegation of, that he failed to disclose ownership, by doing this by omission alone, and the fact that they're still saying he didn't own the site and it's only been alleged and purported, that this isn't enough to bring the complaints that Twitch want to do against him. It also says, moreover, Twitch entirely fails to allege with specificity as required how it was allegedly harmed by Varga's conduct. In fact, Twitch acknowledges in its cross-complaint that Varga's skins giveaway resulted in a net increase in Twitch subscribers to Varga's channel. Further, each of Twitch's second, third, and fourth causes of action are merely duplicative of its claim for breach of contract alleged in the first cause of action and do not constitute independent cognizable claims. For the reasons we will now explain below, Varga respectfully requests that the court grant his demurrer to Twitch's second, third, and fourth causes of action based on the arguments we made about the first. So again, what they're saying here is that because Twitch in their complaint didn't specify what the harm was, that this is a huge oversight by Twitch's legal team. I think it. Again, just on the surface, I do follow a lot of lawsuits. I think that's a sound argument to make. I mean, there can be reputational damage. I think that's what Twitch were alluding to. I think it's a little bit of obfuscation by PhantomLord's legal team here to kind of say, oh, but look, there was a net increase in subscribers, and that actually helps Twitch's business. But obviously, there's a reputational aspect to this, which I think they're deliberately kind of overlooking while making these arguments. So anyway, it moves into this part here where it talks about the factual background. This is basically a regurgitation of everything that you should already know if you've been following the case. Basically, the allegations surrounding the ownership of CSGO Shuffle, whether or not the roles were rigged, sort of issues regarding subscriber counts, the giveaway that they've talked about. And you can see here that section ends by saying, on May the 2nd, 2018, Twitch filed its cross-complaint purporting to assert claims for breach of contract, breach of an implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing, negligent misrepresentation, and fraud. Specifically, Twitch alleges that Varga misrepresented or omitted information about his purported affiliation with CSGO Shuffle, and that Twitch and Twitch's users reasonably relied on his misrepresentations and omissions regarding CSGO Shuffle. Twitch alleges that as a result of Varga's purported misrepresentation, Twitch has suffered damages, but does not specifically allege what precise harm was caused to Twitch. It then brings in the legal standard. It says the Code of Civil Procedure, section 430.10, provides that a party may file a demurrer to a cross-complaint where the pleading does not state facts sufficient to constitute a cause of action. In addition, where it is alleged that a party lacks standing to sue, the complaint can be challenged by general demurrer for failure to state a cause of action in this plaintiff. And again, it cites the legal cases there. So again, this is a plea to the court, essentially, to say that they should just dismiss these elements of the counterclaim because they're not valid. There is no legal standing for them to be made. They then present the argument that Mr. Varga respectfully submits that Twitch does not and cannot state facts sufficient to constitute a cause of action in its second, third, and fourth causes of action. Specifically, as explained below, Twitch does not state a claim for breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing. This is the second complaint in Twitch's sort of counter-filing, where they're basically saying that, the implied covenant of good faith, which was a section of their contract, was breached, and PhantomLord's lawyers are saying specifically they haven't explained in which way. Then it says here, Twitch's second cause of action contains only one substantive allegation, which fails to allege the elements necessary to state a claim, and to the extent Twitch incorporates allegations which form the basis of its first cause of action for breach of contract, it is clear that Twitch's claim for breach of the implied covenant of good faith and fair dealing is superfluous and entirely duplicative of its first cause of action, and therefore does not constitute an independent cause, also of the third and fourth claims. And then this is where it gets more interesting, because now they make specific arguments against the existence of each of these complaints. You can see here a big section, Twitch fails to state facts sufficient to constitute a cause of action for negligent misrepresentation or fraud. And it says, by its third and fourth causes of action, Twitch purports to allege causes of action for negligent misrepresentation and fraud to Varga's alleged misrepresentation or omission of information about his purported affiliation with CSGO Shuffle. Twitch must plead similar elements under both its negligent misrepresentation and fraud theories. And then again, it cites the legal casework where this was established. And it says the necessary elements of fraud are: 1, misrepresentation, false representation, concealment, or non-disclosure; 2, knowledge of falsity; 3, intent to defraud; 4, justifiable reliance; and 5, resulting damage. And again, the legal case that was established in that precedent was set, and it says the elements of negligent misrepresentation are: 1, the defendant made a false representation as to a past or existing material fact; 2, the defendant made the representation without reasonable ground for believing it to be true; 3, in making the representation, the defendant intended to deceive the plaintiff; and 4, the plaintiff justifiably relied on the representation; and 5, the plaintiff suffered resulting damages. So again, this is the structural aspect of what legally constitutes fraudulent activity. It goes on to add, in order to plead a claim for fraud or misrepresentation with the required particularity, every element must be specifically pleaded. And again, there's a case citation. The particularity requirement necessitates pleading facts that show how, when, where, to whom, and by what means the representations were tendered. To which must also specifically plead the detriment proximately caused by defendant's tortious conduct, and this requires factual allegations of both the injury or damage suffered and its causal connection with Twitch's alleged reliance on Varga's alleged representations. California case law holds that the same specificity required in pleading fraud actions is required for negligent misrepresentations, and it goes on to add each element must be pleaded with specificity again. The plaintiff must allege with sufficient particularity that he or she actually relied on the misrepresentation, as well as that such reliance was justifiable. So this, again, to sort of summarize all of that, because, you know, these documents are always very wordy and legalese is always a nightmare to kind of get your head around. But basically they are saying the structure of Twitch's argument that Phantom Lord engaged in fraudulent activity isn't valid because it doesn't meet any of the criteria under law to constitute fraud. They cite a number of cases where this has been established and precedent for it has been set. So certainly this is a very solid counter-argument on the surface of it. Again, with my cursory understanding, it looks to be an oversight perhaps with the initial cross-complaint made by Twitch that they haven't been as specific enough as is required to get a ruling in their favor. They will obviously have a chance to respond to all of this. But it's going to be interesting to see what that response constitutes. Spoiler, we've already got that response. I've got it on this computer. We're going to do another video to sort of keep you up to date with everything that's been going on. Again, there's two more arguments in regards to this made below, which basically says that pretty much a regurgitation of what I've just read to you. So again, in the interest of keeping the video short, I won't read them again. I will probably put the links to the legal documents in the description so you can go and read the full thing if for any reason you want to. But what does interest me is that when it comes to damages, they also allege that Twitch have basically not got a reason, that there is no finding that could back up they have suffered any damages whatsoever. And understand how crucial this is, because in this counter-complaint, they are saying we have suffered damages of an unspecified nature, and we would like the court to sort of rule in our favor for that and potentially award damages. When you get damages awarded in civil cases, obviously the damages are dependent pretty much on what you can prove you've lost. You know, it can be finances if you've lost a lot of money. It can be personal anguish, and the court can decide an award for that type of thing. It can vary wildly, but there's always got to be a coherent argument as to what the damages should be awarded for and to what amount. Certainly this has come up when I've done journalistic work, you know, for example, with libelous and defamatory statements. Say, for example, if I was, as a journalist, to print a false story about somebody and they were about to sign a big, you know, record deal or a sponsorship deal worth 10 million, well, and my story was false and the sponsorship deal or recording deal or whatever pulled out, well, they've very much got an immediate figure they can come to court with. He cost me $10 million with his negligent writing, and that would be the amount that would most likely be awarded in terms of damages if the case went in their favor. Anyway, so it says here, Twitch's claims for negligent misrepresentation and fraud also fail to state any facts to support a finding that it was actually harmed in any cognizable, measurable, and compensable way by Varga's purported misrepresentations. Under either a negligent misrepresentation or fraud theory, resulting damages proximately caused by the misrepresentation is an essential element. Put simply, deception without loss is not actionable. And this is from a case, I'll read you this one because I want to actually have a read of this myself. I think that's an amazing quote. Creative Ventures LLC versus Jim Ward and Associates, 2011. This element, like each element in a fraud claim, must be specifically pleaded. In order to prevail on either a negligent misrepresentation or a fraud claim, the plaintiff must prove detriment proximately caused by the defendant's tortious conduct. Whatever form it takes, the injury or damage must not only be distinctly alleged, but its causal connection with the reliance on the representation must be shown. And again, that's a quote from another legal case. The cross-complaint contains no explanation or even a suggestion as to how Twitch, as opposed to its customers, may have suffered alleged damages as the result of any purported skins gambling which may have occurred on Varga's Twitch channel, let alone any allegation or explanations as to how Twitch itself individually suffered alleged damages as the proximate cause of Varga's purported misrepresentations regarding his purported affiliation with CSGO Shuffle. And that's obviously a key thing here. There's a perhaps clearer argument to say, oh, the people that were allegedly scammed by CSGO Shuffle with the rig rolls, you can easily say how they suffered damages. And Twitch talked a lot about those people, and again, that was mentioned in the covenant of good faith part, but obviously that doesn't necessarily specifically state how Twitch could be affected. So again, it seems like a sound, logical argument on that basis. Twitch's allegation that it experienced a large increase in subscribers during the skins giveaway, but lost nearly half of the subscribers and for others had to issue refunds also does not cure this fatal defect in their argument. Indeed, if anything, this allegation only proves Twitch actually gained subscribers due to the skins giveaway, because half of them remained subscribers even after Varga's purported misrepresentations. In addition, Twitch only alleges that they had to refund some subscribers due to fraud-based chargebacks. Almost half of the subscribers that subscribed to Mr. Varga's channel during the skins giveaway cancelled their subscription, and Twitch received a large number of fraud-based chargebacks from these subscribers. That's obviously the Twitch's legal team's quote. And it says, but a refund by definition simply returns Twitch and the subscriber to their status quo ex ante. For example, Black's Law Dictionary defines refund as to repay or restore, to return money had by one party of another. Therefore, Twitch fails to plead facts to establish the necessary resulting harm element for each of its third and fourth causes of action. So again, a little bit of semantics going on there, but it's a coherent argument, isn't it? That if their argument was on the money that they were making, that it harmed them financially, they made the money and then they refunded and returned the money, so they were at status quo, so they didn't lose anything. That's effectively what they're saying here, that it is an admission that if you have to refund money that you got, you haven't lost anything, you're just back to square one. Square one by definition isn't a loss. You haven't lost anything. So that's pretty much the argument that they've made there, and again, on the surface of it, it's pretty logical. And then I'll just read you the final part, and then we can sort of wrap up the video, and you'll pretty much be up to speed with this section of the filing, which, it's a little bit behind. This was filed in June, towards the end of June, I believe. And we've had some stuff happen in July subsequently. Twitch's negligent misrepresentation and fraud claims are based on an alleged breach of contract. So they say, finally, it's clear that Twitch's claims for negligent misrepresentation and fraud are, at their core, simply a repurposing of the breach of contract theories pled in the first and second causes of action. It goes on to add here, Twitch's negligent misrepresentation and fraud claims arise entirely from breaches of Varga's representations, warranties, and obligations under the agreement with Twitch, and Twitch's claim for relief sounds in contract rather than tort. The California Supreme Court has explained contract and tort are different branches of law. Conduct amounting to a breach of contract becomes tortious only when it also violates an independent duty arising from the principles of tort law. The law imposes the obligation that every person is bound without contract to abstain from injuring the person or property of another or infringing upon any of his rights. This duty is independent of the contract. An omission to perform a contract obligation is never a tort unless that omission is also an omission of a legal duty. So, it just adds here at the end, as explained above, Twitch does not and cannot allege that Varga owed any legal duties to Twitch, which could give rise to tort liability. Moreover, Twitch acknowledges that Varga's purported conduct relating to the skins giveaway may constitute an alleged breach of his contractual obligations to Twitch. Therefore, because Twitch cannot allege that Varga's alleged breach of contract also violated an independent legal duty owed to Twitch, Twitch cannot state a claim for either negligent misrepresentation or fraud relating to what was, as Twitch alleges, a purported breach of Varga's contractual obligations under the parties' agreement. So there's obviously a lot more to this document. I'm not going to read the whole thing. It's a 50-page legal document. It would probably send you all to sleep if you haven't already gone there. But basically, at this stage in the proceedings here, what you can see is that PhantomLord's legal team have made some pretty solid counter-arguments to the cross-complaint that Twitch have filed, basically saying that actually you should probably dismiss this if you're the court because there are several fatal flaws inherent to their arguments. So that's sort of bringing you up to date as of this moment. As I said, there have been some more rumblings going on. We're going to get that out to you as quickly as possible because I know many people who follow this channel have been pretty much fascinated by this entire case from start to finish, going all the way back to 2016. But there you have it. So, so far, you've got to say some pretty solid arguments in there. Even if you want to remove all bias and just look at them, you can certainly see what PhantomLord's legal team are getting at. And perhaps there has been a little bit of oversight there by Twitch. But I guess we'll find out when we see what their response to that actually is. Anyway, that'll bring you up to date for now. We'll be back with another video soon. Thanks very much for watching this one, and we'll see you next time.